With all the innovation we've seen over the past few decades, Elon Musk and his companies have brought some of the most innovative ways to space exploration and transportation on the road. But it might not be just space and Earth that the billionaire genius will be watching. The aviation world has been the least progressive in a few decades. But this isn't because humans can't come up with better alternatives, but because the choices will have a unique impact on its financing or environmental sustainability. But can this be answered by electricity? How does Tesla plan to develop one of the most ambitious projects to take flights to the next level? Does Tesla have plans for the aviation industry? Will an electric plane be better than a conventional plane? Let's find out. Tesla CEO Elon Musk weighed in on the future of aviation, hinting at his plans to build an electric jet. Elon Musk reiterated his support for the development of an electric jet, hinting at the CEO's long-held ambition to produce a zero-emissions flying machine. Tesla's Battery Day event last month gave some clarity on a way forward for the project. One of the biggest hurdles outlined by Musk in September 18 was creating a battery with enough energy density to enable a plane to take off. With the Tesla Model 3, the battery is somewhere around 250 watt-hours per kilogram. Musk suggested an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle would require 400 watt-hours per kilogram. The ideal figure would be somewhere around 500 watt-hours per kilogram. The biggest signal that an electric jet is on Musk's mind came during the question and answer session at the event. Tesla plans to produce its own batteries, which could deliver a 54% jump in battery range for electric cars and a 56% drop in price per kilowatt hour. Although Musk didn't specifically outline density in the main talk, he later suggested that Tesla could reach that figure in a later date. The inverse analysis. Musk's latest comments suggest he's still interested in an electric jet. In reality, it's probably not going to arrive for a very long time, and it's unclear whether the electric car company Tesla would go as far as enter the aviation business itself. Musk noted in 2018 that cars and clean energy were both bigger priorities than aviation, and it's easy to see why. Aviation only accounted for 2.4% of global carbon dioxide emissions in 2018, according to the Environmental and Energy Study Institute. But the World Resources Institute found that transportation accounted for 24% of carbon dioxide emissions in 2016, and around 72% of transport emissions comes from roads. Getting fossil fuel cars off the road makes sense as Tesla's current focus, but with Musk displaying a slide at Tesla's recent Battery Day encompassing all forms of global energy use, the firm seems to have a much grander goal in mind. In addition, seeing the major problems and developments required by the project is another sign that Tesla is seriously considering the project. Elon says the capacity he has for Tesla aircraft is not just an economic problem, but a constraint of efficiency and resources. Although Tesla is going for a full capacity aircraft, there are many studies and patents submitted by car manufacturing companies like Tesla and Hyundai for prototypes of cars that can carry 3 to 4 people in the air. Since there are car companies other than Tesla that invest in such technologies, it will bring the competition necessary for Tesla to produce its best results fast. Better than a conventional plane? We have a problem with our planes. No, it's not a lack of innovation, but a lack of practicality and expense. Take Concorde, for example. When it came out in the 80s, it could fly from New York to London in just 3.5 hours. But even though it was practical, it had countless problems, especially with the cost of fuel and the damage it would do to the ozone layer. It was twice the speed of sound, which meant it was quite noisy and required extra care for takeoff and landing. Due to these problems, the flight was soon put on hold, and it seemed we had reached our limit in aviation until we try to use an electric plane. Electric planes run on batteries and can be quite cheap, and will also reduce manufacturing costs and not have as ridiculously high maintenance costs as conventional aircraft. According to Musk, he plans to make takeoff more efficient by limiting the runway distance. If the aircraft could generate upward thrust, which could then be redirected as forwarding thrust for the movement, the flight could practically take off like a drone. Since upward thrust can split with multiple propellers, it could be used to limit noise output from takeoff as well. It's also practically possible because the estimated takeoff power for an aircraft would only be 400 watt-hours per kilogram. Tesla is also working on improving its battery capacity, compelling aircraft. You only need 400 watt-hours per kilogram. Given that the plane has a higher percentage of your cells on the craft than it needs to be anywhere near that high, It doesn't need to be a rocket. But if it's at 70% at 400 watts per kilogram, you can have a pretty decent range. Unlike conventional planes, the Tesla plane will be supersonic without any problems like we currently have. This means that the transportation will be much faster and can reduce the travel time by about 50%. The problems. When we're talking about Tesla planes, we can't ignore some of the challenges Tesla has to overcome. The biggest problem with any electric plane will be the battery. This is something that Elon Musk has talked about too many times as one of the biggest obstacles to the Tesla plane. While batteries are powerful, they can only store a limited supply of energy, unlike fuel, which you can transport and move in a very limited amount of time. This is not possible with electricity. Tesla is working on improving its battery capacity, and according to Musk, there could be possibilities of making more efficient batteries in just a few years. Several companies are working on ways to make batteries more efficient without increasing their size. And this should come as a relief to anyone waiting for a Tesla plane. But it's not just battery capacity that will be a problem for airlines. It's also safety. The fuel tank in an aircraft may have several safety features in place that ensure that it doesn't get damaged. And even if it does get damaged, there are steps to reduce the magnitude. However, since the electric plane is still in its early stages, there's neither enough research nor certification to provide a protective protocol in case something happens to the battery. It's also really expensive to routinely check for defects in the battery compared to just checking the fuel pipe in a conventional aircraft. Conventional aircraft also have options to dump fuel in case something goes wrong while taking off or landing to reduce explosive damage. But if the battery catches fire, there's no way you can get it out of the plane safely. Can Tesla solve the problems of an all-electric plane? This is to be expected from Tesla. The problems of an electric plane are not great either. It's already been proven that we can take off supersonic jets from vertical. It's also possible that electric aircraft can travel for a limited distance, but only with a limited speed of less than 40 kilometers per hour. Does that sentence sound familiar? Yes, it's exactly what people used to say about electric cars, and that they were slow, low mileage, but Tesla changed the world of electric automobiles. The same thing can be done for planes. Musk also said that they want to address the problems. He plans to merge Tesla's facilities with SpaceX's Aero engineers. It will also provide the necessary informational resources for an electric plane that no company has. He also said that the prototypes of flying cars could be practical. In addition, the biggest problems with the batteries are being worked out every day. There are batteries in limited production right now that do exceed 400 watt-hours per kilogram, which I think is about the number you need to find for decent range, medium-range aircraft. And I think our batteries will, over time, start to approach the 400 watt-hours per kilogram range as well. A month prior, Musk had posted that such a battery could enter volume production in, quote, probably 3 to 4 years. Not only EVs, but devices and technology require small but efficient batteries, and efforts are being made to make efficient batteries from all aspects of every industry. While the battery problem is solved, it's only a matter of testing and certification to see the first electric planes. Try to imagine what time did to the computer. Computers back in the 80s were very large, but had very little power. Now it may be as sleek as a MacBook, but has unparalleled power when it comes to older computers. It's only a matter of time before we see this pattern in batteries as well. Tesla also managed to bring an option for the power source. Instead of charging from the ground, would it be practical for the aircraft to charge mid-flight? Well, there's a way, and it's called solar power. Having extremely efficient solar panels could also supply additional power to Tesla aircraft, and would be as efficient as having a backup fuel tank on a conventional aircraft. Granted, Tesla needs to reprogram entire solar panels to have the most efficiency. It's doable, at least in theory. Going by detailed research, there is a possibility that we can expect to see smaller and more efficient batteries within 3 to 4 years. Next, assuming Tesla at least starts creating a blueprint for the machine, it would take 2 to 3 years of testing and research to build a workable model. You can also expect the aircraft will have a larger passenger and cargo capacity, and that the aircraft would be more efficient. You can also expect Tesla planes to be highly government approved and funded, as it will help nations adapt to green transportation. Just as SpaceX collaborates with NASA, government aviation departments can contribute to making aviation more efficient, effective, and cheaper with Tesla. Let me know what you think about Tesla's plan to build an electric airplane. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Thanks.